Welcome back to A Chapter a Day.
Keeps the devil away.
I'm Pastor Fleck. That's Pastor Holland. We're talking John chapter 12. We're going to outline it. We are going to observe it. We're going to get some interpretation, some application so that you can take Jesus with you along your way today. So it starts off with Mary's anointing and Judas' betrayal foreshadowed in verses 1 through 11. In verses 12 through 19, you got the triumphal entry into Jerusalem where everyone's crying out, Hosanna! And he's fulfilling Zechariah 9:9. Now we see that some Greeks seek Jesus, and the hour of his glory arrives. And so whenever he gets the word that his hour has come from the Greeks, he is now time to be glorified. And then he gets a thunder of approval, which is pretty great. And he asks for the Father to glorify his name. He said, I've glorified it, I'll glorify it again. And then Jesus lets everybody know that was not for him, but for their sake. Then he's got the unbelief, despite signs and prophetic judgment, despite the many signs that people don't believe, fulfilling Isaiah 53:1, who has believed, and then also 6:10, as God hardens hearts for his glory's sake. That all happens in verses 37 through 43. And then you've got Jesus' final public summary and call to faith. Verses 44 through 50, Jesus cries out that believing in him is in believing the Father who sent him as light to save them from darkness. Okay, let's get into some observations. What do you see here?
All right. In verse 18, it says, the reason why the crowd went to meet him was that they heard he had done this sign, speaking of Lazarus. So this sign, if you remember, we've talked about 7 signs that Jesus does and 7 I am statements, where we've hit 5 of the I am statements.
Right.
And the raising of Lazarus is the 7th sign. And that's kind of locked in here. They talk about it in verse 1, where Lazarus was raised from the dead. And then actually in verse 18 calls it a sign, kind of saying, hey, the 7 signs are complete. And the 7th one being, really this proof that Jesus has power over death. It foreshadows his own death and resurrection. So it's pretty cool. 7 signs done. We got 2 more I am statements coming.
Wow. All right. How about Judas? Cloaks himself in false piety. Verse 5. His objection masks the fact he's actually ripping off the treasury.
Yeah.
So that was sort of wild.
Right. What about we got the triumphal entry here as well.
Yep.
So
we fulfilled Zechariah 9:9. We've talked about this before, but we can talk about it again.
What part?
That he rides on a donkey's colt, looks like Shrek on like a moped.
Oh, yeah. But I'm talking about the palm branches. When did you grow up in a church that had like big Palm Sunday celebrations? Yeah. Okay, so I missed out. I didn't grow up in church. So what's the Palm Sunday, like waving the palm branches? Yeah. Do you lay them out? Do you give everyone
you didn't give everyone a full palm branch. You just got one leaf. So it's sort of disappointing, but you usually turn it into a cross in your craft time in Sunday school.
Okay. And the significance of the palm branches is...
That is a great question that I probably should know. I think that's so during Passover, right? Because, it is during Passover. And I just think that you'd be waving those things around a lot, I guess. I don't know. That's a great question.
In just a little on-the-fly research here, palms symbolized triumph. And palms were used in Feast of Tabernacles. And so it's the idea of, a triumphant king at a time of rejoicing and thanksgiving.
Yeah, I'm seeing that too. Okay. And palms recur in Revelation 7:9, where a multitude from every nation waves them before the throne. So there you go. That could be... I think it's just what they had that was something to honor him by. Yeah. Cool. They did throw their cloaks down, but it's hard to wave a cloak. And so palm branches symbolizes I'm bowing down before you with like the...
Yeah. I like that. Okay. Yeah. What else?
How about Mary? The extravagant devotion. Her act of worship was costly, personal, intimate, prophetic, and also public.
Yeah. Yeah, public. The house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. I love that. Her worship was personal, and yet it gave this pleasing aroma to everyone around.
Okay, now here's
beautiful to me.
This is the question I always have. Is this the same Mary from Luke, where it's at Simon the leper's house?
Sinful woman.
Yeah.
Just calls her a sinful woman in Luke, right?
Right. And so I always wonder, because wherever her story is told, wherever the gospel is told, it would be told of her. And I always was wondering, is it the same woman, or is there another woman who anoints his feet and cries on him and all that stuff? Like, that's the thing that is sort of a struggle for me. Which one, what do you think on that?
I think it's two different women.
Okay.
But it could, I'm pretty sure it's in Luke. She's just called the sinful woman, right? It would be interesting that it wouldn't include her name in Luke. If I remember correctly, it doesn't name her.
No,
right?
it doesn't name her. That's why I always wonder.
Yeah. So either John's written after Luke and adds the name to say, hey, this is who that sinful woman was.
Right.
Or John is including another, instance where something like this happens.
Yeah, it could be. Because whose house are they at? Are they at Lazarus's house? Because in the other one, they're at Simon the leper and Simon the Pharisee's house.
Yeah. Right.
So here he is. Whose house is he at? It's let's see. 6 days before they came to bed where Lazarus was. So it doesn't say. So they gave a dinner for him there. Yeah. So Lazarus is one of those reclining tables. So it could have been, because the same conversation about couldn't this money have been given to the poor? Like, it's like the same exact conversation, which is why it feels like, you always have the poor among you. So why wouldn't it be the same person? And wherever this gospel is told, it happens in Matthew 26, anointing at Simon the leper's house. Mm-hmm. And then you've got Mark 14, it's Simon the leper. And then in Luke 7, it's the sinful woman at a Pharisee's house. That sort of fits. And then you've got Mary at Bethany anoints Jesus's feet. So anyway, it's interesting. I wish I could really wrap my head around if it was a different person or not. And maybe we're getting way too into it and probably doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay, do you think there's anything about the Greeks seeking Jesus that he said, my hour has now come? Was it the Greeks coming to Jesus that he's like, okay, it's time? Or was that just coincidentally, that's just, obviously there's probably no coincidences. However, was it specifically about the Greeks are now here, it's time for me to die?
I think there is a significance to it. It's not like, hey, they're here and now it's time for me to die, but rather there's a significance of them being there in that it's symbolic of Jesus being, back to John 1, the Lamb of God slain for the sins of the world,
right? Not
just the sins of Israel. So that Jesus is Lord of both Jew and Gentile, Jew and Greek.
Right.
And so I think it's kind of hinting at the reality of Jesus's death, his hour, the hour of his death, is going to not just be for the Jews, but for all the nations of the world.
Yeah,
the Greeks kind of symbolized just non-Jews in general, right?
Yeah, I like that. All right, let's get into some truths about the nature of man. How about we default to a utilitarian faith. Like whenever it's talk about devotion, like don't give too much. Yeah. That's just a waste. And I do think there's a lot of that where people, they'll say stuff like, how much money did you spend on that building? Couldn't have that been used to give to the poor? How much did you spend on, you could probably go into any sort of extravagance or any sort of whatever, that somehow people are okay with spending that money that they earned on themselves, but they're not okay with using it to worship Jesus in a way that might be more extravagant.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, verse 37, though he had done so many signs before them, they still did not believe in him.
Yeah.
Just our nature is that we can see all the evidence, but it's a matter of God's saving grace to open our eyes. Unless he does that, we will not believe.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I do feel like when you're sold out, you're sold out. I love Mary. Just like, I don't care what it looks like. I don't care if it's a whole year's wage to pour on Jesus. It's worth every moment of my worship because he can do anything.
Yeah. Verse 42 and 43, man, this is really an indictment and convicting, I think, of, it says, many of the authorities believed in him, but for fear of the Pharisees, they did not confess it, so that they would not be put out of the synagogue, for they loved the glory that comes from man more than the glory that comes from God. That's something about human nature that, we got to be aware of, is like we love and care about the approval of people more than the approval and the glory that comes from God.
Yeah. It's good. All right. What about, let's move into some character of God. How about God glorifies his son through what looks like death or apparent defeat? Isn't that wild? Like, why does he have to die? And then he's like, glorify my name. And he glorifies it. Like, he kind of says, like, this is the truth. You guys are going to kind of wrap your head around it. And the Father is glorying in even his son's death.
Yeah. I meant to bring this up earlier. I don't want to skip it though, but when they try to kill Lazarus again.
Yeah.
They're that, back to the nature of people of like, just the hardness of heart that we have. Like, Jesus raises him from the dead and they're like, we got to kill him again. Because people are believing on his account,
Right. So let's show him how he's not really alive. I
just think that's crazy.
Yeah, that's good. How about God gave heavenly validation for earthly? He did it over and over again through the scriptures, and here it is for the voice from heaven. He doesn't have to do that, but he does that for their benefit.
Yeah, I like verse 26 as well. If anyone serves me, the Father will honor him. Yep. God honors those who believe in him and serve him.
That's good. Okay, what about, let's see. How about, God calls us to be the light of the world.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal. I think that's the way that John that chapter 12 ends, is Jesus kind of crying out. I love that he's crying out.
Yeah.
Whoever believes in me believes not in me, but in him who sent me. Whoever sees me sees him who sent me. I've come into the world as light, so that whoever believes in me may not remain in darkness. So Jesus comes to bring light to the world, so you don't have to remain in darkness and be lost.
Yeah. Man, that's good.
All right, let's get into some application. We've got, a sin to confess, a promise to claim, a example to follow, command to obey, a knowledge to believe. What are you seeing here?
Sin to confess, loving the glory that comes from man more than the glory that comes from God.
Nice.
Keeping quiet about Jesus or his word, being fearful of what other people might think instead of just being obedient to God.
Good. How about sin to confess, harboring a Judas-like pragmatism of like going utilitarian, like if we could look at how much better we could use this, and you're like, I want to give generously or give in this sacrificial way because what Jesus has convicted me.
Yeah. Yeah. Example to follow, Mary. Man, just pour it all out for Jesus. Give him everything.
Command to obey. While you have the light, believe in the light that you may become sons of light. So how about we need to walk urgently with the present revelation we have and reject those shadows of doubt that we might bring God's light to the world.
Mm-hmm.
How about promise to claim? And when I am lifted up from the earth, I will draw all people to myself.
Yeah, I love that. What do you think he means by that? Lifted up on the cross, lifted up, like ascending to heaven?
My initial thought was on the cross.
Or, sometimes it's like when I'm lifted up, like metaphorically, like when I'm preached, when my name is preached.
Oh, yeah. I guess all three of those. I was thinking when he was literally lifted up on a cross.
Yeah.
But all of those work. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's aspects of all three of those. And so, back to the promise to claim of like, he's going to draw people to himself. The church is going to be established. Light is going to conquer darkness. Like, you can have hope.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right. What else in spec?
Verse 47, if anyone hears my words and does not keep them, I do not judge him, but, the word I've spoken will be his judge. But there's this command to obey, really, of like keeping his words, not just hearing them or knowing what he says, but actually obeying.
So what he's saying is, I'm not judging those who don't believe. Is Jesus' judgment only for those who do believe?
Well, I think he's saying right now, I did not remember, like back in John chapter 3, I didn't come into the world to judge the world.
Oh, right. That's not
his first coming was to come as Savior.
Got it.
But then again, Apostles' Creed, he will return to
judge the living and the dead. Yeah, I was like, I was like, all right, that makes sense.
Yep.
All right, let's land the plane with one more. What do you got?
Believe in Jesus.
Believe in Jesus.
Whoever believes in me may not remain in darkness. So command to obey, believe in him, and get out of the darkness. Confess your sin, come into the light.
And if there's any sin you're living in,
and you know it right now, right?
Right now, you know what exactly that thing is. We're going to harp on it right now.
Yeah, we said land the plane, but we're going to hang on. We're going to do one more lap.
Because you need to get off that sin. What is that sin you need to get off of? And just give to the Lord.
Tell somebody, confess it, pray right now, hit pause right now, and just pray and confess your sin and ask God to help you and set you free and bring you into the light.
And we'll see you next time on A Chapter a Day.